Alright guys, yes, you aren't wrong. You have seen testing on this QSP Woodpecker before. I did retest it. It's not something that I usually do, but there's a good reason why with this one. So I did retest this, ran it through the edge retention, verified it, talk about how many edges I put on it from the various testing that you guys did see to some testing that I did on my own. Some of that had to do with sharpening. So if you don't remember, this is the knife, 15 degrees per side, M390. So we'll go ahead and get the cutting out of the way real quick. I sped it up as much as I could. Then we'll come back, talk about what led me to testing this again and what it actually did once I did retest it, how many edges it took, all that fun stuff. So off to the cutting, and then we'll be right back. Yes, I did forget to show this in the video, so I'm plugging this in right after the cutting. Just going to be a quick clip. This is how the edge dropped back after the second test that I did this time. How well it came back from not cutting paper anymore. And the section I used was right in here. So that's just showing the state of the actual apex after the testing and a quick strop like you would normally do during your regular maintenance. Alright, now that we saw that cutting, go ahead and do a little recap of what I tested, what I sharpened, and then we'll talk about what led to this test. So, did like normal. The first test you saw was the 4th, 5th, and 6th edge. I then did the toughness testing on it and didn't do terrible. I did go ahead and the normal across the stone to get rid of the edge. And I sharpened this. And even after that toughness test, when I got rid of that damage and everything, the apex just wasn't coming up like, even like the soft steel wheel M390 does. So I cut the edge off, sharpened it again, kept doing that. Over about a week's period of time or so, as I had time on my break at work. And around edge number 12 or so, started to feel a little bit better. Came up better than it had before. Edge 13 was even better. Sharpened it one more time. That edge felt great. Whittled hair. Absolutely beautiful edge. That was number 14. That was the first retest. And edge number 15 was the verification for the retest. So what do I think happened? Any of you that follow Roman on Instagram, he has talked about, he's done the UCI testing where you can test on an angled surface for hardness, all the way up from the apex to the top of the spine. I know he's talked in length about some S30V Benchmade and some Spyderco XHP that he did. And he found that about 1 millimeter up from the apex, so I think one of them was 4 or 5 points softer than at the spine. Both of them definitely had somewhere in the 3 to 5 point hardness spread from by the apex to about 1 millimeter up. You guys know 1 millimeter isn't that much, but we'll say maybe the width of that bevel a little bit less. From taking too much heat and fatigue during grinding, you get some softer steel down by the edge. That's all I can think happened with this. Now, how does it sharpen now? Sharpens 10 times easier than it did before. Very easy to get a really nice apex on this. Doesn't take any extra work, no extra time. It's a quick, easy sharpening, easy to deburr, no issues with that whatsoever. So the 14th edge, when I ran the retest, on that one, 154 feet fine edge. So a little over a 20-foot increase. 115 feet working edge for a total of 269 feet. Now that is a 101 foot jump over the best total cutting I got out of this prior. Sharpened it again, ran the test again. On the verification, 161 feet fine edge, 113 feet working edge for a total of 274 feet. Way better than the first test where the best numbers there were 132 feet fine edge, 36 feet for a working edge for a total of 168 feet. Does this have any more in it? I don't know. I think we probably hit, I could be wrong, but I think we've hit as good of steel as I'm going to hit. Maybe I'll sharpen it a couple more times, run another test. This is way better than it was before. The big thing though is I think about how many people don't sharpen or sharpen very little. And I'm not saying you should get out there and, plow out 12 to 15 edges on your knife. Most people that I know and their use, they aren't going to put a dozen edges on a knife in a lifetime, let alone in a couple months like I did. Am I going to go back and redo some of the other ones? Probably not. Outside of the Benchmade M4 that I just kept sharpening to see when we're actually going to get a solid number out of it. I haven't really found any other ones of my own particular knives that have done anything like this one did. So, much better. At this point, down the road, if I can get some other QSP M390 to test, be kind of interesting, I think, to see if it starts out not as good and gets better after a dozen or so sharpenings. So, gonna keep talking this point also. This is why it's so important to sharpen your stuff. Yes, this one took a whole lot to get there, but this week I will have the video up on the Sencut, the Crescent, and the Spyderco S30V that I did the factory edge testing on. So you guys can see the difference that just a couple sharpenings on the 9CR, D2, and S30V, what a big difference putting your own edge on actually makes versus what you get from the factory. I also have Spy 27 coming with a factory edge retention and the regular testing, as well as some more Benchmade S90V and some Rex 45. The normal, any questions, comments, anything like that, drop them down below. As always, I appreciate your time and thanks for watching.